Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Unity in Naperville and our Good Friday service. I'm Kitty Benson, the minister at Unity in Naperville, and we're just grateful to be able to join together with you tonight for these next sacred moments in time as we remember this experience that we call Good Friday, which has so many deep meanings for us that we'd like to explore with you tonight. And I'm grateful to be spending time tonight also with our music director from Unity, Kim-Char Meredith. And I've asked her just to help us open our hearts tonight to what we're here to do and join us in song. There will be words up on the screen, so if you'd like to sing along, wonderful. Otherwise, let's just enjoy this beautiful and meaningful song that's perfect for the work that we have to do here tonight. Kim-Char?
Hi, everybody. And hello, Kitty. Let's sing this together. Words are on the screen. I lay it down, I lay it down, this thought that taunts me and kicks me to the ground. I lay it down, I lay it down, and lift you up, Lord. Show me how to keep my mind on what is true, the all-loving goodness of you. Everything else, I lay it down, I lay it down, this memory that haunts me and pushes me around. I lay it down, I lay it down, and lift you up, Lord. Show me how to keep my mind on what is true, the all-loving goodness of you. Everything else, I lay it down, I lay it down. This worry weighing heavy, causing me to doubt. I lay it down, I lay it down, and lift you up, Lord. Show me how to keep my mind on what is true, the all-loving goodness of you. Everything else, I lay it down. Yes, we can do that right now. Sing that first verse. I lay it down, I lay it down, this thought that taunts me and kicks me to the ground. I lay it down, I lay it down, and lift you up, Lord. Show me how to keep my mind on what is true, the all-loving goodness of you. Everything else, I lay it down. Ooh, yeah. And everything else, I lay it down.
Thank you so much, Kim-Char. Love that song. And it has a lot to do with what we're focusing on tonight. You know, there's Christians all around the world remembering the death of Jesus on this Good Friday. And I remember as a child wondering why it was called Good Friday. It never made sense to me. There seemed to be so much darkness and pain when you think of the death of Jesus on the cross, holding in mind that he was offering his life as atonement for sin and to bring Christians back into reconciliation with God. And what I do tonight in this service of Good Friday for Unity is to offer another point of view, one that allows us to personalize the story. When we talk about death on the cross and atonement and reconciliation, there's a deeper meaning that plays itself out, or can, if we allow it, in our own consciousness. Because we look at the scriptures metaphysically and find out a meaning that might apply to how we see life and how we can use these stories to raise our thoughts. And just as Jesus was lifted up on a cross, tonight our goal is to lift up our thoughts to the Christ, to draw our energy, our beliefs, our consciousness to a oneness with the divine. And that's when we look at the word crucifixion metaphysically, is something that Charles Fillmore explained quite seriously, I must say. I want to read this to you first up here on the screen. This is from the Revealing Word. He says, the word crucifixion means the crossing out in consciousness of certain errors that have become fixed states of mind. It's the enactment by a master of the final extinction of carnal mind, the giving up of the whole personality, in order that the Christ mind may be expressed in all its fullness. Can you imagine? I imagine what my ego is saying right now when we're talking about the final extinction of carnal mind. Wait, I'm in charge. I need to protect myself. I need to provide for myself. Who's going to do that if the carnal mind in me, the ego, is not in charge? Well, that's our work tonight, to trust that there is a higher mind within us, and that in order to experience and listen and follow that beautiful, infinite, divine mind of God, we must first put the ego mind in the back seat. We must cross out those habitual negative thoughts that it's used to thinking, so that we can hear the Christ mind speaking within us. And those words that I mentioned earlier that are part of the Christian story of atonement for our sinful nature and reconciling humankind to God are actually words that we see metaphysically as at one-ment, bringing ourselves to at one-ment with the divine mind. And as we raise our consciousness to think the thoughts of God, and you have the ability to do that, to raise your mind to the divine consciousness of good, that when we do that, we are reconciled. We are at one with. We are thinking the same thoughts. We are feeling the same energy that the God mind, the Christ spirit in us, is feeling and experiencing. And so this process we go through, that we remind ourselves of on Good Friday, is so critical to us moving into our natural state of spirituality instead of letting that sense consciousness dominate. Jesus learned how to do that. And he said, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Now, the things I do, you should do also. You should also know your oneness with God. You should also follow and do as I do, think as I think, say as I say. This sin that we may think of as a sinful nature that we're born with, we don't see it in the same way in Unity. We look at this sin as only that which is a belief system that can be changed. And really, the number one sin that is probably the cause of all other mistakes in our life is the belief that we're separate from God. If we could lay down just one thought tonight, it would be, I am separate from God. Because when we know the omnipresence, everywhere present Spirit of God, we know the omniscience, the one mind, the all-knowing, the all-knowledge, that is something that we cannot be outside of. It is within us and we are within it. Omniscience and omnipresence. And so instead of seeing ourselves separate from that, we must learn to drop that veil. You know, there was, in the historical story of Jesus's crucifixion, there was a moment during the crucifixion where the veil in the temple was torn in two. And that is something that needs to be done in our subconscious mind. We need to tear it open to reveal the superconscious, the Christ mind within us that knows who we really are, that allows us to reveal God's goodness and love and wisdom in our life. And so tonight is about identifying what needs to be released so that our thoughts may be fully reconciled to God's thoughts. Identify what is not of God and cross those thoughts out. Just as we see Jesus put on the cross, we think of taking that, that human body that he represented is a symbol for sense consciousness. And so we're going to put sense consciousness on the cross. We're going to cross it out. We're going to no longer allow our physicality, our human brain, or the human ego to control our thinking. So when you think about that part of yourself that says, I need to be frugal so that I don't run out, or maybe your lower self is saying, I have to judge them first before I am judged, or I have to reject them first before I'm rejected, or I have to be selfish in order to protect what's mine. None of those thoughts are of God, and you know it when you think them, let alone when you say words like that. And that's what we're here to cross out tonight. Jesus told us that he was here that we could know about a life abundant. And that comes from knowing our oneness with God. It comes from remembering that we're spiritual beings. And yes, having a human experience that we all know is a challenge here on earth. But as long as we can cancel out the sense consciousness and its need to dominate our life, as long as we can cross out those beliefs, we have a chance to reveal the Christ in us as Jesus did. And he promised that in order to do that, we would have a guide within us. And he referred to it as the Holy Spirit, or you might know it as your higher self, or the Christ within, or the source. But that presence is always with us. And it is the consciousness, the qualities of God that we want to be. It's the power that can overcome the ego. It's the ability to cross out limited thinking and reveal our higher self. And in Unity, we speak a lot about our spiritual powers. We've identified 12 of them. There probably could be many more with an infinite God. But what we do believe is that God expresses as powers of wisdom and understanding. Up here on the screen, we'll put these up for you tonight. There's going to be 6 that we'll look at. And I want to start with wisdom and understanding because they are what guide us. Everything that we do in our life begins as an idea in mind, good or bad. And so tonight, we want to call forth our power of wisdom to help us cross out error thinking and realize that it requires a fasting, just like Christians during the season of Lent will choose to fast from certain pleasures or foods or things that, the ego or the sense consciousness needs. So when we fast, we remember to turn back to God. Well, in the same way, we want to fast from fearful or negative thinking. And we can do that when we turn our thoughts feasting on God's wisdom. Trust that there's a wisdom within us that wants to be known and experienced. All you have to do is ask and it's given. Jesus said, ask your question. What negative belief is not serving my higher self, God? Or what error thought have I bought into that's dominating my behavior? Or what negative past experience seems to be taking control in my life? And as we sit quietly and truly seek an answer from God, that divine wisdom, that power of wisdom, that omniscience of God within us will start to rise up in your consciousness. We just need to be still and know, as the scripture says, and it will come forth in many different ways. It might just be a sudden knowing. You might have a full-blown picture in mind. You might have a gut instinct, or sometimes you're asking a question, which thing do I need to let go of? Is it this? And you'll feel it. You'll feel a sense of that feels right. So look to those signals within you to know what your inner wisdom is telling you. Your wisdom will know what is true and what is right. And when we pair it up with understanding, we can also know why we should give something up. it's the power, the understanding is what allows us to see into the heart of the matter. I was a kid that always needed to know why before I was going to do anything that somebody told me to do. And it's a beautiful power that I was probably using, willfully as a child. But there is a power of spiritual understanding that it enables us to look past the physical and see into the spiritual dimension, to know the heart of things, to understand why someone hurt you, probably because they have their own hurt in their life, or to understand who I might need to forgive in this moment that I've been carrying around, some kind of grudge or burden. Or maybe it's, helping me understand how I got to this mess in the first place. That clearer, fuller understanding combined with what I should do with that information is combining our power of wisdom and understanding. So let's show the affirmation up here on the screen, Parker, that combines our two powers together. And will you say this with me, please? I judge life with spiritual discernment and an understanding heart. Let's just take that into our heart for a moment. I judge life with spiritual discernment and an understanding heart. That is how we cross out error beliefs in our consciousness. And another two powers that we can call forth up here on the screen is our power of will and our power of strength. This is what will help us to take our wisdom and our understanding and actually do something about it. So our power of will is our ability to choose, to make a decision. You get to be the CEO of your life. You have a divine power within you that says, this is the path that I want to walk. And it's probably going to be met by your ego on that path, who's trying to be willful instead of willing. So we'll just take it one step at a time. When you find yourself struggling to choose to do something that aligns with your heart, maybe it's not going to be easy to step into that willingness. And so we just start with, I'm willing to become willing to let this go, realizing that it's not going to be my human abilities that will choose this, but I will let the Christ within me do this work, and trust that when you turn towards that power of will and truly think of, this is the divine in me choosing, you have much more power there to make that right choice than you think. And understanding will know why it's important to choose this particular decision, why to turn in this direction. So be choosing for what really matters, what has the deepest meaning in you. And all that has the deepest meaning is related to God, to God's good, to God's love, to God's creativity, to God's peace. Choose toward God. There's a scripture in the book of Job that says, agree with God and be at peace. I love that. Agree with God and be at peace. And in this way, good will come to you. Doesn't that sound beautiful? Let me say it again. Agree with God and be at peace. And in this way, good will come to you. And as you use your power of will to make a decision about what to let go of, to recognize what does not serve you, then you want to call forth your power of strength, because it's the power of strength that will keep you on that path. When you try it for a day or two, or you find yourself falling backwards, use your power of strength, call on it, think about it, allow it to flow forth from your heart as that which will keep you moving forward. It's that power of strength that will see you through your doubts. It will see you past other people's criticism. It's your power of strength that will actually deal with conflict face to face instead of trying to run from it. It's your power of strength that will be able to turn you away from the temptation to go back to the old ways and think the old thoughts. Your power of strength allows you to choose again and again and again for God, to agree with God. So here is our affirmation for these two powers of will and strength up here on the screen. Let's say them together. I'm willing to agree with God and see this through to completion. I'm willing to agree with God and see this through to completion. This is how we begin to dissolve these errors in consciousness. And then the final two powers that we'll talk about tonight up here on the screen are the powers of release and the power of power, which is our ability to choose words of power, to choose thoughts of power. We talk often in Unity about how our thoughts and our feelings and our beliefs are what create our life. If you wonder how you got to where you are today, think about what you've been thinking and feeling and believing. And so when we find ourselves in a place in life that doesn't feel good to us, it's our chance to ask ourselves, what is it that's not serving me any longer? And say no to that. That's our power of release. We also call it a power of elimination. It's a power of letting go. So no, I will not hold that thought any longer in my heart. I release it and let it go. And then as we let it go, using our power of release, we call on that power of power and fill the vacancy. That which we let go of, we must replace with truth. We must fill the vacancy with words of power. Remember, our words have meaning, good or bad. And so we want to choose words that are of God, so that when we fill that vacancy, it is filled with power. It is filled with that which will lift us up and align us with the divine within us. When we speak words of truth, they carry a frequency that puts us in sync with the mind of God, in sync with the heart of God. And so keep choosing and speaking words of power where you can feel them in your bones, where they lift you up, where they propel you forward to do the right thing. If you find yourself struggling with health in your body, then the first thing we want to do is look at what needs to be released. What am I holding on to? Maybe it's the fact that we believe that sickness is natural at this time of my life, at this age that I am, or we think that we inherited this sickness and we can't get past it, or we think, oh, I've always been a weakling, nothing's going to change now. Those are all error thoughts that do not align with the nature of God. And this is our chance to cross them out by turning to the power of release and our power to choose words of God. And so up here on the screen, let's take a look at one of the affirmations we might speak in the case of dealing with sickness and weakness in the body. This is the affirmation. Sickness has no power over me. I am a vibrant expression of pure divine life. Do you see how that first statement is a saying no? I will not say yes to this power of sickness. Instead, I will say yes to that vibrant expression of pure divine life. That's using your power of release and your power to speak words of power. Maybe you're struggling in your life with relationship issues. It could be that you're lonely, that you are looking for someone to love in your life, or it could be that you have someone in your life that you just can't get along with. But there's probably a belief that's hiding behind all of that, that you've been carrying around for a while. It might be that, I'm not good enough, or they're not good enough. It might be that I'm better than them, or no one will love me, or I've never found love so far. What makes me think it's going to change now? It's too late for me. All words that are based in error. Because when we understand that we are spiritual beings of love, we already have the love that we're seeking. And when we can own that love and be that love, everything around us begins to reflect that, and love comes into our life. And so we use our power of release to let go of those error thoughts. Up here on the screen, we have an affirmation of what to let go of and what to embrace. Together, I release all thoughts of judgment. I love all, including myself, without condition. I release all thoughts of judgment. I love all, including myself, without condition. Maybe the error that has been dominating your life is one that says, I'm always struggling when it comes to supply. I never seem to have enough, or there never seems to be enough. No matter how hard I try, I cannot get a handle on money. It's always a struggle in my life. It seems like only certain people have the ability to have their needs met. It's never been me. It's probably never going to be me. I don't know why this is happening, but that's just the way it is in my life. Does that sound familiar? Anything to do with money, where it's just always a struggle? This is your chance to cross out those negative beliefs that are really not based in truth, because our true supply is God's omnipresence, which is spiritual energy or substance, which becomes our daily bread if we simply see it. If we simply look into the invisible that's all around us, and with our faith, we call it forth and allow it to become our daily bread. So this is our chance to let go of those beliefs of limitation, because if God is omnipresent, there is no such thing as limitation, because God is all that we need. So we need to let go of those thoughts. Up here on the screen, here's our affirmation for this, using our power of release and power. Together, I let go of all limiting thoughts. I live in an instant, constant, abundant flow of God's infinite good. All of these statements we're making here tonight are meant to reveal the truth to us, to lift up our thoughts so that we are in alignment with how God is and wants to express in our life. We must get in the habit of observing what's going on in the back of our mind, what we're feeling. And when it's heavy and slow and hurtful, know that it's an error thought. Notice that it's based in the idea that I am separate from my good. Therefore, I believe I'm separate from God. Notice it, and as soon as you can, release it before it hardens into a habit in you. No, that is not the truth of me, I say, with my power of release. I'm crossing that out, and I'm reconciling my thoughts with truth. Crucifixion, cross is all about canceling out that which is unlike God, so that we may reveal the Christ nature within, to live it freely in our life. And tonight, what I'd like to do is take some time to reconcile our thoughts with the Christ thoughts within, with those divine powers that we talked about. And I'll guide you through that in a moment. But what I'd like to do first is invite Kim-Char to come back and just let the words of her song sink into your consciousness as an opportunity to use your power of will and strength and wisdom and understanding, release and power to choose to let go and embrace something new. I release and I let go. Kim-Char?
I release and let go the silence of my soul. I release and let go my soul. I forgive every wrong as I sing this simple song. I forgive every wrong, oh my soul. I release and let go in the silence of my soul. I release, I let go, oh, my soul. I release, I let go. I sing that with me. I release, I let go, I release, I let go.
Let's take a deep breath. I release and I let go. I'll invite you into this time of meditation with me as we turn our thoughts inward, allowing ourselves to breathe first and calm the body. Take a deep breath and let go. And as your body starts to relax, you may feel that soothing quality moving down across your shoulders and down through your arms, all the way down to your tailbone and your knees and your toes. Feeling a sense of gratitude as you allow that softness to come over the body, thankful for its gifts. And as we close our eyes and feel that sense of peace coming upon us, we allow our thoughts to move into our heart, seeing it as the secret chamber where we connect with that divine heart of God. In this quiet time together, we realize that we have never been separate from God. And this is the time to know that truth, to feel that presence, never alone, always filled with the fullness of God. We turn our thoughts to that divine power of wisdom and understanding. God knows the truth of me, and my thoughts are one with God. I know the truth of me. I understand my spiritual nature, my eternal nature, one with God, without limit. I know what to do, and I know why to do it. I know the thoughts that serve me, and I know those that are ready to be crossed out. I understand. Just take a moment to settle into what that might be. What is not serving me in my life? And how might I let it go? I turn my thoughts to my powers of will and strength. I am willing to let this go. And my power of strength sees me forward, turns me in the direction toward God and away from this that is not serving me. I am willing to become willing to let this go, to align my choices with those of God. And my power of strength holds me to that path. Allow yourself to feel that strength supporting you as you make this decision. I turn my thoughts towards my power of release. I let this go. I say no. This no longer supports my life of spirit, of truth. I am walking away from this. I am letting it go. And through my power of words, I know the truth of who I am, that the Christ in me does this work. I cross out this error thought, and I open and embrace the power of good and the power of God within. All things are working together for my good. For God is good. God is love. And I now allow the power of love to bring order and peace to my life. We thank you, sweet Spirit, that these powers of wisdom and understanding, these powers of will and strength, of release and power, are doing their work in me now. I am no longer dominated by my senses, by my physicality, by my ego. It is the power of the Christ arising in me, revealing its perfect self. So it is, and now we let it be. Amen. Before we finish tonight, I wanted to give you an opportunity to participate in the ritual of communion, if you'd like to do that. And this is a ritual that began on the night before Jesus was crucified, when he had his final gathering with his disciples. And he used real elements as symbols that he asked them to see in a new way. He took the bread and the cup, and he told them that this bread was a symbol for his body. And in unity, when we take the bread, we see this as a symbol for not just a physical body, but physical nature itself that begins as spiritual substance. We see it as a symbol that represents the divine energy that fills this universe and becomes our daily bread, becomes the clothes we wear and the house that we live in. And that when we know this as the omnipresence of God, when we embrace it, when we take it in, when we realize its very nature as that substance of God, we recognize we can never be without. That the symbol of the bread tonight will be an acknowledgement as we take it in, that that divine energy or substance of God is always present in my life, always filling every need. So we have up here on the screen a call and response as we take of this communion together. And first we'll take the bread in our hand. And I will speak first, and then I'll speak with you. Divine substance replaces all fear of lack. Together, God is the only presence in my life. You may take of the bread. Jesus also held up a cup, probably of wine, and used it as a symbol for his blood. When we think of blood, we think of the life force, the power that flows not only through our body, but the life force that is the animating force of the universe. And that too is an expression of God, the omnipotence of God that is always with us, that is always activating us, empowering us to do all that our heart desires to do. And so we can trust in this power as that which will help us cross out what needs to be let go, and to embrace and to work toward that which we want to become. And so I invite you to take your cup, and as you look at the liquid within it, see it as liquid power, a symbol for God's omnipotence. I'll speak first up here on the screen, and then I'll invite you to reply with me. Divine life transforms all limitations. Together, God is the only power in my life. You may take of the cup. As we join our hearts and minds in this communion tonight with the one presence and the one power in our life, we know the truth. And as Jesus told us, it's a truth that sets you free from human heaviness into the light and love of the Christ Spirit within. And for that, we are grateful. Thank you for enjoying this communion together, feeling our oneness with each other as we feel it with the Christ itself on this very sacred evening. And before we finish tonight, if this has been of meaning to you, if you have been more deeply connected to the truth of your being, I invite you to join us in an offering that allows us to continue to bring forth these ideas of spirit to you. And if Unity is a spiritual community that you'd like to support, there's a couple of ways that you can do that tonight. One is to use the button. There's actually a donate button on a Facebook page if you're watching us there, or at our website, which is unityinnaperville.org. You can also mail a check if you'd prefer to our P.O. Box. Unity in Naperville is P.O. Box 9733 in Naperville, and the zip is 60567. And we are deeply grateful for any gifts that you choose to give to support this message. I'd like to invite Kim-Char to come back for one last song to help us remember that the truth of our being is all that we need to know to heal every aspect of our life, to cross out error thought, and to embrace the Christ within. Kim-Char, will you sing one more time for us, please?
Yes. Thank you, Kitty. And I accept my perfection, perfection shaped by Spirit's hand, and I embrace my wholeness, and in my wholeness here I stand. Healing is remembering, healing is remembering, healing is just remembering who I am. And I accept my perfection, perfection shaped by Spirit's hand, and I embrace my wholeness, and in my wholeness here I stand. Healing is remembering, healing is remembering, healing is just remembering who I am. Oh, healing is remembering,
Thank you so much, Kim-Char, for spending this time with me tonight and blessing so many of us. I know that they're feeling it in their hearts. I hope you all have listened to the words tonight of all the songs that Kim-Char shared with us. They all have deep meaning. And what I'd like you to do is to take this message and this music that you've heard tonight and carry it through with you throughout this weekend. Allow this to be a time of contemplation. There was a time from when Jesus was taken off the cross and put into a tomb before his resurrection. It was more than a day, a little bit of an evening, another morning, 3 days, and he would rise. But during that in between time, what was happening in that tomb? This is an opportunity for you to have that sacred moment where you go into your inner sacred space and commune with that Christ spirit, asking your heart to reveal to you what needs to be crossed out in your life, what is no longer serving you. There is the fullness of the Christ potential waiting to be born in you. If we will only move the heavier thoughts, the error thoughts out of the way. What negative habit is seeking to be transformed? What hurt is ready to be forgiven and released? And as you make that sacred connection with your higher self, trust that come Sunday morning, I hope you'll join us back at Unity. We'll be in our building at 1600 Shore Road in Naperville at 10:45 a.m. We'll also be online for those of you who are at a distance. And it will be our opportunity to let the power of Easter resurrect and reconcile our thoughts with the Christ mind that is within. You are deeply loved. I behold the Christ in you. Namaste.